last video from my home in Harrison prior to the move to Little Rock. I think I need to summarize that I've written probably 200 articles in LinkedIn. Probably the earliest one was 10 years ago, and then there became a substantial amount more, probably 80% was written in the last 5. And the reason for that was that I'd come across this thing, and I'd had a CEO from a company over in the Netherlands coming to Harrison, and I saw that on the internet that Harrison was considered the most racist city or town in the U.S., and I'd never heard that before. So I started doing some research, and I thought, well, this is going to be an easy fix. It wasn't that easy, but to give you a little background on that, Harrison, the college here at Harrison has black athletes playing on their college team, and that's been for the last 30 years or so. Their pictures are frequently in the paper. There's been a black pastor at a church, a black resident who became Miss Arkansas. So the paradox is pretty wild when you start seeing what the AP and some of the mainstream media has always latched onto there. So I had to do a lot of research. It took a lot of digging, and I'm not going to get into that in this particular video, but it's there for history, and it's all recorded. And it also, you know, gives you time-stamped events and how I discovered certain things and who I talked with. I talked to the SPLC, which is in Montgomery, Alabama. They're the ones that determine the most racist city, or where there are racist spots in the country. And so I talked to the general counsel and even the chairman of the board. So I got their feedback, and we had several discussions which were recorded, and also I kept them. But really the intent of today's video in the wrap-up was I wanted to talk about something that has been, I guess, misunderstood. Maybe since a lot of things happened as far as the final deal I made with cable data was actually 30 years ago. It was in September, but really the final stages was in February of 1994. I remember the exact timing of it because it was a week my father had passed, Joe Lair, which many people know. And I knew how important this meeting was. So when the people from Cable Data in Sacramento were scheduled to come in, I said sure, and we didn't even talk about the fact, or I didn't even alert them the fact that my father died. He was real critical, as key to a lot of the things I did in my life because of the entrepreneurial attitude he had with the service station, TV and appliance, and then later on my connection with the TV part with cable. So I want to make that clear about this is where the emphasis is. And so the last article I've written, and maybe it's considered a post, but whatever, but I said it's not the destination, it's the journey. You hear that a lot, and I said, well, then again, I was told by a top analyst that you're one step from making it very, very big. So then you got to reconcile that to people because they see you now and they say, well, what went wrong or what went right, and it's there's a lot of things there that can be talked about. But I did highlight in this article 2 key decisions, and of course that was because the final decision, I guess, was 30 years ago in February 1994. But there's an article, and I'm not going to go back through that, but there's an article capitalizing on the global economy, and that was back in the 1990s, and how company made some marvelous decisions and got involved with a lot of companies, and we actually took a product here that was found in a rural area and took it into over 50 countries, and the countries were important because we were dealing with major companies like UIH, the predecessor to Liberty Global, John Malone. You can think of all that group. So we made that connection early on. and that was a key with the consultant Paul Case that gave us an opportunity there that we might not ever have had without his ability to see the importance of what we did and what we brought to the table with our product. So that's kind of one of the things that's in the picture here. The other was another one that we developed was in Latin America, and that was with Sid Shreve. And that was really after the sale had been made to Cable Data. He was assigned, and I wasn't necessarily going to be an international business development person, but we had a person that left the company, and I said, "Well, I'll take that role." I didn't want to sit and do what I'd been for years, so it was a great opportunity to travel the world and really go face to face and see and meet people. And I found culturally, people are very nice and one on one. And it was one of the things that Sid taught was he had grown up in South America, so he was really instrumental in the approach in South America. It was a top-down sell, not so much going up the ladder with the management. So he had a lot of key contacts he had met over the years, and so we had a great time socially and business-wise. And I've recorded a lot of those in my episodes on finding your happy place, so I won't delve into that right now. But I think the key to selling systems nationally was the second location. Supporting systems in Harrison was not a big deal because everybody thought, well, you can just go down the street to the local cable office. And I did spend a lot of time in the office because you really need to know the business inside and out to understand customer service. And that's one of the things that was really a selling point and built trust in the company and myself and a lot better understanding. But we always used that approach when we were selling international. Was that we were in Walmart's second store. I know some people kind of have made a little light of that with the mules and balloons and all the other issues that went on in that store. But if you really look deep and dig deep, you'll see that Sam Walton made that decision. And not only did he make the decision, it proved to be a model they replicated. And it was not an easy model, but it was one that they could find where a city served a surrounding area like Harrison at that time prior to the boom at Branson. It had about a 70-mile radius to any larger city. And a lot of people came to this location for purposes of buying. And so Sam picked up on that, and Harrison was much further ahead than Bentonville at the time. And you might note I did an AI, artificial intelligence study on that. And Sam Walton was very close to moving the headquarters from Bentonville to Harrison early on. And AI supported that information once I gave him the facts of how he had got established here and what was going on. And I think the fact that David Glass and a few others that came on later kind of belittled the connection, and maybe even one of his grandkids, Stuart, did the same. But the reality was, and people here that worked with Sam know that they knew a lot more about retail than he did. No doubt he had the vision, but it was the local people that made that happen. But the other thing I thought was funny was we had a company that's now, it's not active here, as Duncan parking meters. And what's nice about Duncan parking meters is you could walk to the street in a lot of cities, and I did this in Buenos Aires, and I did it when we were out in Beverly Hills one time. I knew that Rodeo Drive had the parking meters there, so it's kind of gives you credibility of where you are and why you're there. So it was kind of interesting to do that, and I did that. The second system we put in was at Rogers, which is just the opposite of Sam Walton coming to Harrison. I went to Rogers, and we had great success there prior to his buyout by Don Ray Media. Don Ray Media, you might know more from Don W. Reynolds' Razorback Stadium as far as the locals, but the controller wrote a reference letter. A lot of the purpose of that reference letter was to slam IBM and a product they had on their System 34 that wasn't working very well out in the San Francisco Bay Area. It was an area that joined Silicon Valley. So that was really a big step in creating credibility from an Ozark-based company to people nationally and globally. You got to get the non-paid evangelists on board. They're bigger than investors. Uh, that's the biggest thing in a startup. Most people miss that. They think that they can build a better machine, or they're going to be more of a just the fact that they created something that everybody's going to run to their doorstep. That's not true. One of the other people that had looked at that system before they sold to Don Ray was Jake Landrum, and he headed up a cable system. He was the VP and general manager of Midcoast Cable TV in Houston, and he chose the system later on to be put in there, and that was very significant since he was the president of the Texas Cable Association, and we got a lot of free publicity. And again, he was an unpaid evangelist, and we always made the cable show there, no matter what, because we sold a lot of systems in Texas because of Jake. And I'll make a note to startups here. There are times when your loyalty to community is not reciprocated, so you move to where it is. Reason people relocated to Silicon Valley, and that's the perfect time to do that and maximize my return. I think people that know me and family know that when we came back here, there was a personal reason. I'm not sure that it should have been the one that kept us from moving on at that time, since a lot of our family had passed, but it still had an impact. And again, sometimes you have to be careful about that. And again, you have to weigh, family, friends, and also professional opportunities. And I know a lot of people have done that. So that's not unusual. But then again, I had a consultant from Washington, D.C. come in and confirm everything I'm saying, so that it's in the report, and actually in the LinkedIn article. I'm not going to go back and read that, but it basically is saying that type of business I was in without the tangible assets. I always said that. So the significance was that the a type of company of technology type company was very difficult to capitalize, particularly in the '80s when S&L closures and a lot of the other pressure was put on bankers in Arkansas. So uh, we went to you know self capitalization, and the boom of the '90s, 1990s, was something that was coming on, and we could see a lot of things happening in the global market, and that's what I had written that article about. The real story about that was uh, opportunities were flying left and right because people were putting in cable globally, and they came to us because we had a system that's based on a desktop computer. You can call it PC or whatever. But the fact that we had done a lot of work with the set-top box manufacturers, particularly Motorola and Scientific Atlanta at the time, and what that meant was that they weren't going to work with every little system globally, particularly those that were done on a very personal level, like a family member or other people, and just a one-on where all at the time it was taken to do an interface. So having us there was very important, and that was a big seller because a lot of people were doing billing on spreadsheets. So uh, it was much more than just having a system that kept track of bills, but we did have a lot of ancillary services, and we were, as I think it reports in one of the videos, that we had gone where we could connect with a lot of different software products, and some of the other people had gone with private systems, and ours was such that we could use Microsoft and connect with a lot of the technology tools. So that was a big difference here. Now, as far as the agreement we had with Taiwan, we had developed that based on the fact that we had done a global business uh, connection with UIH, and I had been part of the, working with Philippines, the UIH people in the Philippines. So it was close enough there to Taiwan that we could relate to some of the things that were issues there. And so once we identified that we could put it over into Mandarin, and they could actually do interactive voice, which is quite different to do that in Chinese, and we could demonstrate that it was a tool that they could use. Then Prime Cable came to our offices in Harrison and finished the deal. And what that did was it was real critical, and I found this out later, in the timing of the meeting we had with Cable Data, which again was in February in 1994. This led to several iterations of a contract. And Rose was their attorney. My son Craig was an intern. So he was very active and very helpful in getting the deal put together as it went through several iterations. And one of the odd things about that was we had a condition in here that they couldn't move us 25 miles radius from Harrison. I guess that could have got us to Branson, but we were wanting to stay here because of the key people that we had put together, and they liked the quality of life. From my standpoint, travel and going back and forth to Sacramento was not an issue, and I did that quite frequently, so that was part of the deal. But as you'll see, once the deal was put together and then Cable Data came back to us with an offer, initially it was to work together, but it was in a position where we would be merged in together, and we would be kind of a subsidiary of CUO being part of Cable Data. But the intent there was to kind of take us out of the competitive situation. I think the thing that they probably failed to realize is that we weren't a house of cards. Financially we had the shortcomings that a lot of small companies have, but the product features and functions and acceptance was better than some of the things they had on the international market because they had done so much on a mainframe level. They had a product called IntelliCable, and even the marketing people failed to do a spell check on that because it comes out to be intolerable. But that was kind of funny. But they had a lot of money invested there, and they weren't in the mode of trying to sell smaller products and make that adjustment. And that was unfortunate. That probably led to their downturn later on. But they were able to use us to create some more business, and the presence of us in the company created an attractive company as far as going public, and then eventually merging into another company called Actually, it was DST or DST Innovis. It was acquired by Amdocs, which is still a national leader. So a lot of things happened there, and a lot of decisions made, and I kind of detailed that in the article. But I thought I'd at least give a video to kind of say what was happening, and maybe this is leads to some explanation, and maybe inspires you to look at the documents and read them close enough that you see that we weren't living on borrowed money. It was the fact that we had created technology and created competition to the point where the market leader has come after us and made a very attractive offer, which eventually we accepted the offer, but later on I was told that we were probably a step away from being coming up, very, very big. And I understood that because I knew the technology we had was better than what I saw in telecable. And they would have been very difficult to support, the administration of a contract directly with a company in Taiwan um, when we weren't dealing with a U.S. based company that controlled it or a consultant. So that was the other factor that led in the decision, not just the fact that it would have created another stage of trying to capitalize the company, which I hadn't been able to do in Arkansas. So it would have still been moving the company at some point. So I encourage you to read the articles and then follow on with finding your happy place as far as other docuseries episodes and other information that gives more direct information on global marketing. Thanks.
Okay, I've attached a copy of the LinkedIn article, and you can go step by step through the article. Uh, so, if you're a speed reader or if you prefer, you can, go to LinkedIn and read the article itself. It kind of backs up some of the things I've said earlier, and you'll see all the references there to the letter from Don Ray and obviously all the other things that kind of come into play, and the letter from Malarkey Taylor in incomplete, totaled, and you can read uh, the effort they made. They actually had contact with one of my, I guess, installations out in Virginia, and they had talked to some people, and they were kind of surprised at the I guess the acceptance by the operators, and again they were kind of evangelists, so they initiated contact with me, and once we developed that relationship, they went to a lot of effort at a very nominal cost because they were primarily getting their money from operators. But then again, you can see as we progressed here, then later on I wanted to make it clear about what happened when the company was sold in 1994. Uh, the deal was announced in January of 1994, and there was a speedy reaction from Randy Linthicum, who is featured in a video later on, coming to Harrison and bringing some other people, and we met in Harrison, plus we met in Little Rock at the Rose Law Firm. So that's kind of the nature of details here. And again, you can see that what I've talked about earlier is all documented, and I did a lot more of that in the true story article that I've written. But I thought it was good for the purpose of record to remember what actually went on there. It was not a happenstance accident. It was a very timed meeting based on the fact that they saw that we were for real and the competition we were bringing. And so when they failed to get the deal in Taiwan, they came to us. And then you'll see the following video, which really summarizes it all.
In this edition of Upfront, we'll introduce you to the newest partner in the USCS family of companies and take you to Harrison, Arkansas to join in on the celebration. Next, find out what changes are taking place at IBS in preparation for the new factory, IBS 2. Plus, our corporate temperature. Now that the results of the employee survey are back, we'll tell you what happens next. And finally, you'll get a chance to see the elusive story featuring USCS Produced by NBC Nightly News. With signatures on the dotted line, two companies agree to create a powerful partnership in the cable industry. CUO Incorporated, formerly Computer Utilities of the Ozarks, is now part of the U.S. Computer Services family. CUO first began 21 years ago in Harrison, Arkansas, providing payroll, accounts receivable and payable, and general ledger services for local businesses. Similar to Cable Data's own history, one of CUO's early customers was a local cable company.
CUO, may I help you?
Today, CUO is committed primarily to the cable industry. Their software product, CableWorks, is marketed as the solution for cable operators with 25,000 subscribers or less. CableWorks is a PC-based product designed for its flexibility and easy operation, according to CUO founder and president Herb Lair.
I think we have a mainstream product when we went to the PC and network solution, and it's the open access to the information. It's essentially a non-proprietary environment where information can flow into other productivity tools without having to do conversions, and information can be utilized and summarized in existing applications and existing products. The acceptance of that product and the opportunities to go international with it because of not having to worry about obviously issues of proprietary operating systems that would preclude us from working with customers in other countries, I think has given us a great opportunity to work in that situation.
To date, CUO is successfully doing business in many international markets, with more on the way as Cable Data International opens additional doors through their contacts. Vice President Randy Linticum, the architect behind the merger, says there are many more opportunities for the CableWorks product in the U.S. as well.
And the idea here is that there are many of our customers today where we have gone in and satisfied their large system requirements, but they still have cable operations and cable companies that are at the smaller end that we can't satisfy with DDP SQL. So I think there's a real opportunity here to go into some of our major customers and say, we now have a total solution for you.
In fact, opportunities exist to move some of CUO's existing customers to IBS for billing services.
Today, CUO has about 2 million subscribers on their system, and they're in roughly 200 sites. So they have a fairly interesting market presence. And these 2 million subscribers today, none of them, to our knowledge, use IBS for print production. So there's an opportunity here to go in and market and sell to these customers and to be able to leverage our billing services capability into the CUO customer base. And we think that's an important part of this partnership, and certainly one of the first priorities that we'll be working with as we move forward.
I think for us, it gives us the resources to go after markets that we could not go after before, and we've been in a passive marketing. Our situation has been that we are a relatively small company, so the marketing aspect is that they come to us. Well, this opportunity gives us to go after in an active mode customers in the foreign markets particularly, obviously opportunities even in the U.S. down in the future. So I think the fact that we're looking at scalable solutions, whether you're talking with Microsoft or you're talking with people in foreign countries, is an important part of the growth for both companies at this point, and I think it's got positive influences because they complement each other so distinctly as far as our product and what we serve and what Cable Data has served in the past. So I think it's a great opportunity for both companies at this time.
On this historic occasion, a press conference was held in Harrison to announce the merger. And later that evening, USCS hosted a dinner for employees to celebrate. Currently, CUO has a staff of about 10 individuals, with plans to increase the operation in Harrison over the next several years. With a positive outlook ahead, U.S. Computer Services welcomes CUO and its employees and looks forward to a successful partnership.